You know what's crazy, though? And we were talking about this in the break. We have no idea who the OC is going to be. We have no idea who the GM is going to be.
A lot of OCs fired, too, by the way. I think it's
Yeah.
like 6 or 7 of them out there just got fired.
So there's all these guys with experience, and you literally have the Titans just continue the relay race of hand it to the next guy who's the logical successor, like they have been with the OC, because that could be Tim Kelly. You got the wild card of Bill O'Brien, who hired Mike Vrabel to be on his staff at Houston and was coaching with the Patriots when Mike Vrabel played for the Patriots. One of the names that's interesting to me is Frank Reich, because Mike Vrabel has always said fantastic things about him, and he's available. Now he probably wants to be a head coach again, so maybe his thing is like, hey, I don't want to be an OC. Let me just hold out till I start getting some more interviews. But there are a whole lot of names out there, Blaine, like you said, guys are getting fired who might be good fits, and then there's teams' quarterback coaches and passing game coordinator, like the quarterback coach from the Eagles. That's a guy that a bunch of people like because he's attached to the Eagles, and they're getting it done right now. So we don't know who that is. We don't really know who the Titans quarterback is going to be next year. They move on from Tannehill? Do they literally say, does the new GM come in? And as we pointed out yesterday, none of these guys have GM'd before. Assistant GMs, but it's not like they're, none of the names that have been leaked.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of the
Decision maker.
Yeah, none of the names that have been leaked have been a top level sit in the GM seat anywhere. Amy Adams-Strunk mentioned collaboration, so there's probably all kinds of collaboration with how this is going to go. But a guy who sat in the seat before might come in and say, hey, in the 8 years I was with the Chargers or the 6 years I was in New Orleans or whatever it might be, that guy might say, we blew it up and here's how we fixed it. Or we didn't blow it up and then everything came off the rails and then eventually 4 years later, 3 years later, they fired me. You're not getting that from anybody. None of those guys, at least that have been leaked by Rappaport yet. So this is the wildest of wild card.
They could have still been sitting in those meeting rooms, though, when that happened.
Sure. And they'd have that perspective for sure. But this is just the wildest of wild card off seasons. And as a fan, like for you and Lucas and me, this is fascinating because it's this whole thing that never stops changing and evolving every day when we come in and talk about it. So it's exciting for us. Like what'll happen today? But for fans, they have to be like, what in the world is going to happen? I mean, I think some fans, as soon as they got rid of Todd Downing, are just like, okay, whatever happens next, I'm okay with.
Yeah.
You did the one thing I wanted you to do. But things have sort of been status quo around here for a good while now. And as soon as Amy Adams-Strunk hit the ejector button on John Robinson, this whole thing just became a wild card. And they're also trying to build a building.
Yeah. Willing to be ready? 3 years, 4 years? Potentially, let's just say that.
I think the target was 26, but maybe realistically for all the work you'd have to do, it's 27. So next year will be 2023. So what's nuts about all this is who would even play in it that's on the team now? Maybe Burks, maybe Big Jeff, Chig, maybe. I mean, how many guys will even? Because
it won't be a lot.
Yeah,
it won't be a lot. I'm gonna say something really, really crazy. It's probably gonna be like, oh, no way that could happen. And the reason why I'm gonna say it is because I never say never, and I've said that about the A.J. Brown trade and everything else. Because of the GM position being open, I still believe, me personally, no insight by anybody, just know how this world works. I still think it's a 50-50 chance that Mike Vrabel won't be here.
When the building opens?
No.
Oh.
No.
Sooner?
This season. Going into the season. Yeah. I still believe it's 50-50. That's not to say because he's not a good coach.
Right.
Has nothing to do with that. Has to do with change. So if the GM comes in that they actually really like, and when I say they, I'm talking about ownership. That is not Vrabel. Now, he could be there after the fact and say, hey, what do you think? When I say after the fact, after they said we're leaning to our last two, we'll bring you into the meeting now. Mm-hmm. That's how the process should go, in my opinion. And then see if you guys can coexist together. And he may have some different ideas that could you start pondering some of those thoughts, which means this. This is why I say this. If the GM comes in and says, That offense we're going to have to change our philosophy and how we're going to go about our business on offense.
Mm-hmm.
You can hire who you want as far as the offensive coordinator, but we're not going to be a ground and pound, run left, run right, Henry left, right, every freaking game, every first down. And then that could be the linchpin to them saying, well, we want this GM. We want this guy. So, Vrabel, are you ready to go in that direction? You go, no, that's not my philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Or the GM could come back and say, I think we need to blow this thing up. Then Vrabel could come back, oh, I'm not going to be part of a rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
See, so, and when everybody keeps talking about, we're going to make sure they can work together, we all know that's always hard to find where everybody thinks on the same accord. At some point, the GM is going to say, Vrabel wasn't my hire. He's not really listening to me, so I don't know him like that.
Mm-hmm.
We can get to know each other. So that's why I keep saying that, and that's why I'm saying now that I still think it's 50-50 that he may not be back. Now, that could sound crazy to most because he could say, I don't want to be part of a rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
That the GM they hire could come in and say, well, I think you need to make some change. You can't tell me what to do with my coaching staff and how I want to go about my philosophy of running my offense. See, that's a touchy subject by any coach, not just Vrabel. So I have no inkling of that, and probably I'll never go in that direction, but I have to believe that possibility could happen because I think personally that they need to tweak the offense and this style because I don't think that's going to win it. Whenever you have one side of the ball stronger than the other in this day and age, especially if it's your defense, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. Your offense could be way ahead because you got to put up points and now you got to come chase us. Well, they're not doing that. It's all defense. This is 1990s ball. This is fishbone ball right here. And that can only get you so far. And that window, to me, is over. Last year was the time that they should have made it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's why John Robinson cried at the combine because he knew it.
So I'm just going to say that. It's 50-50 that Vrabel will be back, in my estimation, because it could be a conflict on rebuild, retool, or offensive philosophy. And so when you start putting that together, and they say, oh, they got to be able to work it. Well, wait. That don't mean the person that they like a lot agrees with what Vrabel agrees with.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see who wins money. Because you got to be careful whenever you're giving a coach too much clout, to me, and with the ownership group. There's a line demarcation there, just like John Robinson. Obviously, he went over it. Whatever it was. I have no idea what it was. Bye-bye. Well, what changed in a matter of 6 months when you just gave him an extension?
Right.
Well, the same thing can happen with Vrabel. And it's proven that she'll do something like that if there's no agreement. You can like somebody a lot. And I think she loved John Robinson. I think she thought he was great until he wasn't. Guess why? Because he did something that she didn't like. Well, I think we need to change the offense. Vrabes. I don't know if I want to do that too much. So now you're going to tell me what to do with my offense? Yep. That's like, I don't know if Vrabel fired those coaches. I don't know that. He could have got malarkeyed. I call it malarkey because malarkey said, hey, get rid of Robisky, or guess what? You're going to have to go. I'm going to call that malarkeyed. So I don't know if he did or didn't. And the reason why I say that, because all of a sudden, he doesn't have to answer any questions about his firing of any of these coaches. First of all, we went through all of them. Besides Downing, all of them you could have a debate on, well, why did you let him go? I want him to answer those questions. Especially the offensive
skill assistant.
What the heck? Really? That person had anything to do with losing?
Eric Frazier got scapegoated, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And then, the offensive line coach, I mean, you could have went as far as the receiver coach could have got fired because the receivers didn't produce.
I'm going to ask questions about special teams and
right,
strength and
special
conditioning.
teams. Right, the special team coordinator. So it was just like, well, dang. Was he just pissed off he got told that he got to let the OC go, and then some other people got let go because he said, then I'm letting these guys go then? because he's pissed. What did they do? All of a sudden, they were playing with, some of them playing with practice squad guys, especially the O-line. You can say he's good or not good, but at the end of the day, he was playing with some spare parts that should have been on a practice squad. So I'm going to put it out there, and I've been pondering if I was going to ever say it, but it is what it is. So it's no different than any other industry when you're trying to make a big decision that can change what direction we're going. And they're connected at the hip to me, and that's John Robinson and Vrabel. So what are your thoughts?
Boy, the Hitman just people. I'm getting texts in the subject,
and they're telling you Blaine's
just
crazy,
all
right?
Fire emojis. I mean, this is just insane.
I did not say that. I just said with a new
fire, like you're on fire
okay,
emojis.
I got you.
Yes,
I just
that
said,
kind of fire.
You just never know when you bring in a new boss. We watch this. I'm about to get you. We got a new boss. There were changes.
Mm-hmm.
There were changes.
Yeah.
Us included. So see,
we know,
so right,
we know how that
and
works.
some of us not.
Yeah.
So it happens all the time in any corporation, in any big time business. So I'm gonna put it out there, and that's the way it should be until it meshes together. So I just don't ever think that and then Vrabel, I think, wants the power to have the final say so on picks.
Sure.
And there's a part of me that the head coach actually should. Now, the GM is supposed to do all the research in the scouting department, bring all the things to the table. Ultimately, he's the one coaching them up. Mm-hmm. And I do somewhat agree with the majority of the time. I would say he should have that kind of clout. So, yeah. And some GMs just going to be like, well, what is my actual job? I might as well just be a scout.
Right. Director of pro personnel.
Right. Yeah. See? So I just don't know what way this is going to go, because when you make that move and you fire John Robinson at that point in time, to me, you should have already had a couple people in mind. And to me, that was never going to happen until the season was over. So he did something that they didn't like.
Well, we've talked about this a bunch. I was an associate director of athletics, and I was the guy who sold the tickets and handled, external stuff. But I always said, if I was an AD, I have my list of, if I fire the coach, here's the next coach. If I fire this person, here's the next that person. I have my list. I know I don't make the move unless I know what the next move is. I mean, they're billionaires, Blaine. Owners are billionaires.
So they might have found out that, he did something that was unethical in their mind, whatever it could be. It could be something small, it could be something huge. And you got to go. You got to go. We're not playing. Or he could have kept her out of the loop on something.
Yeah, maybe that's where the collaboration word keeps coming in.
Right, see? So she's giving you hints along the way. Now, she hasn't given any hints about what I just said about Vrabel, but because she's hoping that it goes in that direction. Because she knows she has a good head coach. Mm-hmm. But we all know most head coaches are stubborn to a fault. That, hey, this way works. It's proven. I've shown you over 4 years that it works. Well, guess what? This is my rub. When it doesn't work, what is your BCD plan? Mm-hmm. You can't just run the football. It won't work. It won't work. I was on that team. It worked 1 year. And that was it. Guess what? It worked a couple years here. And now should be it.